Everyone. Good to see so many of you today. This is the 2025 Izzy Awards live show, and today we're going to go through the favorites that you and a lot of others chose um, amongst 13 categories. This is the fourth annual Izzy's. Anyway, the lot of you voted. I think everyone that's participating today participated in the voting, but a lot of others voted as well. And uh, I think what you'll see is the awards are a little bit different this year. A lot of different categories, a lot of different nominees and resulting favorites. Also, we have the uh, legacy favorite that I choose each year. That'll be last after we've gone through all the different categories. So the chat function you can use um, as well. And, with questions, comments, I'll try to get to those as we go along. But in any case, um, let's kick this thing off. So, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar or this is the first time participating in the Izzys, this is the fourth annual, and it's just a kind of an award program that we do, similar to People's Choice, um, which there's a lot of award shows that go on this time of year. Typically, most whiskey show awards are samples or tasting type events. Ours is a little bit different, a little hard to do a tasting type event given we're spread out across the country. So it's more of a People's Choice Awards where you just vote in based on nominations. So, as a reminder, we had 13 categories this year. I think most of them were different. I know two of the repeats are always repeat categories every year. That's favorite new, as well as the limited edition. So we kind of, but the reason we can repeat those every year is because by the nature of what the category is, they'll always be different. Um, I think the categories, we kind of try to shake it up if you haven't figured it out by now to the little bit irreverent and atypical of what most whiskey shows or award programs do. So we'll kind of see that as we go along. But some of you that are on today, I know, also acquired the sample package. So I'll let you know as we're going along by category. I labeled them so you probably can figure it out, but I'll be sure to point it out as we go, which one the samples go with. And I think that's about it. Um, so we'll kind of start right off the bat. The first category is the first whiskey in the sample package, and it's the one that's, I believe, labeled Stout. Because the first category that we're going to do is favorite stout beer finish Irish whiskey. And the way the nominees work is um, they're just alphabetical, and there are five in each category. Some of the other rules are you can only be nominated in one category per year. So some of the whiskeys could obviously fall into multiple categories, but if you're in one, you're not going to be in another one. So as we go along, if you're wondering about that, that's why. But these five nominees, as a reminder, we did a nomination show a while back. But I'll just quickly list these. The Dark Hedges is a Total Wine brand, stout finish. Jameson Stout edition might have been one of the first stout whiskeys. Uh, The Magic Cow, Krogman's, that's an Indiana um, limited edition stout whiskey. And then we have West Corks, one of their core expressions. And then finally, the Whistler, which is the source brand out of the Bond Distillery. So again, this should be your whiskey number one. Their numbers are on the bottom of the samples, and it should say stout. Um, so, having said that, the favorite that everyone picked was the Whistler. So this has been one of the I think stout Irish whiskeys that has been around for a while. Couple different releases that they've done over the years because they have changed um, the type of stout beer that they use or where they source from the beer from. Um, but this has been kind of, I think when I killed a bottle recently of the very first one they did, that one had a wheat component to it as well, but this one's a little bit different. Um, so I don't know if everybody's been able to try this. This one's pretty widely available, which has probably helped with its getting the most votes. But sláinte everyone. What I did too with picking the different samples for those who grabbed them today, um, I wanted to create kind of a variation in the lineup. So different finishes, different styles. This is a blend. We've got a single malt, a pot still, another blend in the mix. So, um, and different finishes. So tried to create a little variety with the lineup, as well as try to differ a little bit from what we did recently back in October when we did the 15th anniversary special, um, and some of the samples that were provided for that one. All right, so we are off and running. Um, we'll go to the next category. And this one is favorite Marsala finish. And in this case, we have um, some pretty well known, I think, whiskeys. We've got the single pot still, one of the from the trilogy that came out beginning of last year from Bowen. Bushmills, the Drumshambo. They have a few different pot stills now with different finishes. And then we have Red Spot, 15-year-old, and then another Whistler expression. That one is the single grain Marsala finish. So those are our 5 nominees for Marsala finish. And the favorite is Red Spot. So I think not a shocker, although this one was fairly close, I think. Um, but Red Spot was one of the favorite 15 whiskeys that you guys chose in October. So can't say I'm totally surprised that this one received the most votes. But I think Bowan received quite a few as well, and so did Bushmills. So All right. Next category is one that I'm glad I was able to put together this year finally. This is one of my, I think, favorite uh, styles. It's a blend, but it's a blend of pot still and grain. So a lot of the blends that you see out there are malt grain blends. Then there are some that are um, all three styles, like pot still, malt, grain, and then you have these that are pot still and grain. So, an example of malt grain blend would be, say, Blackbush from Bushmills. An example of a full Irish all three style blend would be Paddy's or Tullamore Dew. This type was pretty much dominated by Middleton because they produced pot still, and so the brands like Jameson, Powers, um, were really the only representation from of this style. And then what's happened the last couple of years is others have been making pot still. We now have, I think, enough to create a full category. So, uh, really, in the last year or so, we had the Clonakilty Galleyhead, which came out a year ago. Pot still grain blend. Jameson Black Barrel, of course, has been around for a while. Prior Izzy winner. Um, Another new entry from Ecklinville, who revived the old Comer brand. And those, if you've had the old Comer pot still blend, it's very nice. Then we have Powers Gold Label, of course, and then um, from Skellig, which is a distillery in County Kerry. Uh, that rounds out the five. So it's kind of great that we now have a number of this style of blend. And for this first year having this been able to have this category, the favorite chosen was Powers Gold Label. So I think all of you that have been clamoring for more Powers representation, here you go. Yeah, I'm speaking to you, Hank. But Powers, I think everybody's well familiar with this. Not shocking that this one um, took home the prize. Um, I think some of the other ones are really new to the States. You may not have tried them yet, so I encourage you guys to try them if you like Powers, like Black Barrel, which have been around for a while, obviously. Try some of those others because I think you'll like them. Okay. All right. Next category, kind of a made up category, just going to the dogs. So a lot of the brands use a dog, um, Tullamore Dew, which also does, but is not part of this because it's its own category this year. But all five of these have a dog, either reference or on the label. So I think they're all sourced blends with the exception of Limavady, but Knockmore, Wolfhound, and the Wild Atlantic Reach are all source blends um, with the Wolfhound as part of their labeling. Triple Dog doesn't have a specific dog, but obviously has the dog in the name. Um, so these are all blends different. So uh, Wolfhound is an old Cooley blend. Triple Dog uses um, full Irish oats and some French oak cask finishing, and Limavady is the lone non-blend in here. That's a single cask, single malt with a PX sherry finish, and Um, it's not as obvious of the other with as opposed to the other four. The dog is more part of the name and the story behind it, but there is a little picture of the dog at the bottom of the blue label here on the front of the bottle, if you were to enlarge that. And the one that people liked best was the Limavady. And this is also uh, the second whiskey. So it should say dog on it. So slaunch everyone, if you have this one in the sample pack or have it on your shelf, you can grab it.
Alan, with all these, are these still kind of following the real small batch routine? So there's a lot more variation between the bottlings.
Yeah, I mean, they're single casks, so there will be that variation. I'm not sure where they are. This particular bottling was barrel 133. Trying to see, but, and I know this is the second barrel or second bottle that I think I've had. So um, I'd have to go back and see. I'm sure that depending on where you are in the country too, that might create some of the variety too in terms of if they ship differently. um, I've never really done a side by side of this one. I don't know if any of you have, different bottlings to see how different they might be. But very approachable. Uh, the PX gives it a nice finish. Um, this one too, a little bit, I think, polarizing. The bottle itself. It's a nice bottle. It has embossed glass Limavady on one side and Irish whiskey on the other. Also has the embossed dog. Very simple in terms of the labeling. It's a very small label, so it's not overwhelming you with a lot of information. I think the part that's probably a little polarizing is the glass top. A lot of people don't like, um, but one thing with this, at least, you're not going to run into the problem of having the cork fall into the bottle. I had that happen to me just last weekend, so my anti-cork campaign continues. But I'm one of the people that actually don't mind this style bottling because I never have to worry about um, pouring my whiskey into another bottle, which is what I had to do um, last weekend. I was trying to make Irish coffees and kind of became a big ordeal. But I
Al-
digress.
Alan, this is
Yeah.
Mike, Kansas City. You asked earlier if any of us had done a side by side. I've probably been through 4 or 5 bottles of Limavady. I think it's a terrific whiskey. I think Whiskey Advocate gave it like a number 8 or 12 rating last year as
Okay.
a whiskey. And I'm very fond of PX finished products. So this one is really special, I think, and I'm delighted to see that it won this category. But it had a little bit of an unfair advantage being a single malt, but it's really a terrific whiskey. And for those of you who haven't opened one of these bottles before, it's really easy if you get both thumbs, grab the neck and push it up with 2 thumbs. It comes right off. But it took me a long time to figure it out because it is a problem when you first see it.
Yeah, it's a little more challenging to open for sure, but the advantage is that if for some reason you do take a long time to finish the bottle, you don't have to worry about any cork issues. Okay, So we're a few categories in. We've done two of our whiskeys. Um, we'll move it along. All right, so this is another new category. Though all of you are Irish whiskey fans, this category plays on the Irish culture. A lot of the brands, the one we just did, utilizing Irish Wolfhound prominently. These also utilize some form of Irish culture, folklore, mythology, um, stories, traditions. So there's just a lot of different brands that um, are utilizing that in some fashion. So these five nominees, um, I thought made up for an interesting category. I think in all cases, these are all blends, and I believe they are also all source blends. So the five, just quickly, Claddagh refers to County Galway, Claddagh Ring. I'm sure you're all probably familiar with. That's a big part of Irish culture for those that have had a Claddagh Ring. Uh, Second one is a newer whiskey in the last year or so. Finvara, the King's Gambit, refers to mythological king of the fairies. Um, and that one's probably maybe less known unless you're really into your Irish folklore. I think the other next two are more well known. The Irish Rover, Doomed Ship, popularized in song. Kind of hard to miss if you're over in Ireland, hanging out in the pubs for any length of time, listening to music. But refers to a ship and this brand named after that. Molly Malone, of course, the song as well, and the statue in Dublin. Um, Pretty well known, I think. And then the Silky, which is a half seal human, can change form, shapeshifter. So those are your five playing off Irish culture, tradition, folklore, that kind of thing. And of these five, the favorite was the legendary Silky. So this is part of a range from out of the Idara distillery in County Donegal. So there are several Silky expressions. This is the core original version. I think they're all slightly peated, some a little bit more than others. Um, but this just actually went through a rebrand. So if you're following social media, last few weeks, you would have probably seen that they've redone the bottle, which is funny because now that they've um, been chosen favor for this category, the new label design I think is less prominently features the Silky. Where you kind of see it here on the label. The new version is, doesn't really, it's got the name, but not, I don't think the picture of it, but neither here nor there. I think the other thing that's exciting too about the Silky and Adara, I don't know if any of you follow the TTB labeling approvals and what's coming to the States, things like that, but the Adara released their first own whiskey last year, and that is coming to the States. The 2025 version has been approved, both the regular and the cask strength. So the Silkies are all, for the most part, I think, three of them in the States, and then the two Adars are coming. So that's kind of exciting. If you haven't tried that, It's very different than most other things that have been released. Both the way they did it, kind of, these are lightly peated, I guess is what I'd say, whereas the Onadar stuff is much more heavily peated and unique. The type they use and the way they make the whiskey. So something to look out for. Uh, Obviously, if this one chosen as a favorite. So if you like this and kind of what they're doing up there in County Donegal, that's something to, I think, to look for. Not sure exactly when it'll be on the shelves and what states it'll come into, but it's coming. Okay. All right. Next category is for all you who like a little bit more oomph in your glass. Favorite cask strength. Um, and again, one of the things too is we're going through this. If for those of you who maybe new to the Izzys or just don't remember, the the kind of some of the rules, the whiskeys have to be sold in the States. Um, and so if you're not seeing something, that might be why it might be disqualified just by the fact that you can't get it here. Um, and for most of these categories, other than the limited edition, I try to include things that are what I would call core expressions. So where there might be a one-off cask strength that came out, um, it might not fit into this because these are all typically what I'd call core expression cask strength expressions. So the five nominees here, I think some familiar names: Blue Spot from Middleton, single pot still. That's the 7-year-old Madeira finish. The Cullowen rum raisin, the Natterjack redbreast, and then probably one that's less familiar because it's new in the last year or so is the Roaming Road, which is also a 7-year. And I had to write this one down because I couldn't remember. 57.6% ABV. So these are all going to typically vary in ABV depending on the batch and the year, but all are going to, for the most part, probably be in the mid 50s to upper 50s range. Um, so I was curious putting this together because um, I know a couple of these are from Middleton and then might split the vote. And I know Cullowen has its cult following as well. So I was curious to see how this one was going to shake out. But the favorite that was chosen here was the Redbreast. So
Shocking.
you guys, you Middleton, they can say all they want about the Cullowen cult. The Middleton people really love their Redbreast. It's hard to beat when you put it in a category. So this is probably, well, certainly of the five that we had in there, this is the oldest cast strength, and what I mean by that is just the longest on market. One of the first permanent expressions to come out in cast strength form. Um, and the batches vary each year. So I think from year to year too, you can people have their favorites among those. Um, these are kind of collectibles. It's arguably one of the most popular, if not most popular, of the core Redbreast line. So excluding things like the cask and stuff like that. This is the 12-year, just basically at higher ABV.
On Michael again, a couple comments. I'm a huge fan of the 12-year-old cast strength, and I do blend it with the regular 12 to get me around 100 proof. I'm more comfortable at that proof. Uh,
Okay.
But I do want to point something out to you folks. If you haven't had the Blue Spot, I know they're pushing it in Kansas City for $300 to $400 a bottle. But if you want it, you can go to the Mitchell's website, and it's like 89 euros, plus about $60 shipping. So you can save quite a bit of money if you want to get that Blue Spot. And it's a special whiskey, but I don't think it matches up to the Redbreast. So
Yeah, I think not to get off on a tangent, but generally speaking, if you're fans of some of the Middleton products, um, you can certainly find them a lot cheaper outside of the United States, even after factoring in shipping. So on some of the typical online um, retailers outside of the States, with shipping, it's still cheaper than particularly the Blue Spot, but Red Spot, I think you find that as well. You can find Red Spot um, pretty inexpensive outside of the U.S. I think some of the U.S. retailers really jack up the price of that as well. So just something to keep in mind. There's a pretty wide variety of pricing out there on a lot of this stuff. So particularly if it's something that you really like and plan on buying additional bottles, once you finish one, knowing what the price is can be real helpful. You can really save some money. Okay. Next category is the only non-whiskey category. Um, Instead, so do this from time to time. And this is the fourth annual Izzy Awards. The We've done favorite distilleries and favorite bonder in the past. This year, these five nominees are favorite farm, single estate whiskey makers. So trying to give a shout out a little bit to um, some of the less conglomerate, smaller whiskey makers, in some cases newer whiskey makers, I guess. Well, maybe in all cases, but um, certainly doesn't take anything away from what they're producing. So the five nominees here, uh, a couple of these we're going to be visiting later this year when we do our Kilkenny member group trip. But first is Ballykeefe. So that'll be part of our trip. That's just outside of Kilkenny. Second is Ecklinville up in County Down. Shortcross, Radamon Estate. Um, Tipperary Boutique Distillery. That's another one we're going to visit. Um, it's it's less than an hour from Kilkenny. And then lastly, from County Kerry, we've got the Wayward um, Estate. The Liberator brand is probably what you're more familiar with. But those are your five. So they're all either family-owned estates, farms, or both. So they all have interesting stories. They're typically not mass producers, um, but they're all doing something pretty interesting. So if you can kind of visit them, it's usually a really good take. Um, so for those five, the one that received the most votes as your favorite for this year was Ecklinville. Um, it's not shocking here, I think, because Ecklinville's been, I think, out of all of those, it's been around the longest. It's also probably produced the most different brands. So they've done the Dunvilles sourced single malts um, for a number of years and won quite a few awards with those. Recently, we've already seen the Old Colmer That was a brand they revived. They just released their own pot stills under the Old Comer name at the end of 25. Those will be coming to the States this summer, supposedly. Um, and they've got some other Dunville's blends. We'll see. I think two of their products are nominated in categories coming up. So they have a pretty wide range. They have a lot of fans, I think, too, of their sherried sourced single malts that they've done. It's won Irish Whiskey Awards a few different times, I believe, over the last several years. So um, not shocked that this one won out, although it was a pretty tight race, I would say. It wasn't a runaway. So good to see that um, there are fans out there of um, of a bunch of these ones. So again, they're all interesting stories. Don't necessarily have public tours, but if you can arrange to visit them, it's worth it. Okay, so on to back to whiskey categories. This for those who have the sample pack would be whiskey number three. It should say cognac on it. If you can't read that, there's probably a three on the bottom. But like some of the other finish categories, um, we've done. Um, these are all whiskeys that have been finished in a cask formerly holding cognac of some type. So we have the Dark Hedges, which again is a private label brand through Total Wine. Then we have independent bottler Egan's. This is the 10-year conviction, which uses XO cognac finish. Well, I think one of the first to really maybe champion the cognac finish is the Lambay whiskeys. Um, this is the independent whiskey maker on the island just off of Dublin, where the sanctuary is. Um, and all their whiskeys feature a cognac element to it. Then we have the Whistler. Again, Whistler has a pretty extensive range of whiskeys. They're all sourced through the Bowen distillery. Um, this is the Dark Symphony, which is the cognac finish version blend. And then lastly, the Writer's Tears Double Oak, which utilizes cognac finish as their second um, wood type maturation. So those are your five. And the one that was chosen as favorite was the Writer's Tears. So again, this should be whiskey number three.
Interesting.
So Sláinte. I don't know if any of you are cognac drinkers as well. Um, but cognac finished whiskeys, um, I think, have become more popular. There aren't a ton of them. Some of you may be familiar with the Hennessy product, which many of you probably maybe don't know was an Irishman who started that brand, which I found interesting. So, tell you the Irish may have left Ireland and gone elsewhere, but they didn't. They didn't stay quiet wherever they went. So, but Writer's Tears has been, um, around for, I want to say, almost 20 years now. Um, Also, so the Walsh family, they also own the Irishman brand. So in addition to the this double oak with the cognac finish, this is also a brand which is a blend of pot still and malt, so no grain. So they kind of invented a new category, blend. Talked earlier about some of the different blends. Um, Typically, a blend will have grain in it. So this one kind of created its own category at the time by blending pot still and malt of different percentages. So when you kind of look the difference between the Irishman and the Writer's Tears, um, the first main difference between them is the percentages of pot still and malt in the mash bill, and then further differentiation from cask type typically and age. But this one's pretty readily available around the states. You can find Writer's Tears. Um, I think it's part of the core range. The ones that are less available or hard to find would be something like the Cask Strength or some of the other limited stuff they do, like the ice wine finish, things like that. But this one's part of the core range, and it's been that way. So um, you should be able to find it. Okay. All right. So next category is favorite peated blend. So this would be another category that I think is more easily able to be part of the awards program now, as more companies have released peated expressions. A lot of the stuff that's peated, particularly in blend form, I think is coming out of Great Northern Distillery. That's sourcing for independents in different ways to kind of introduce peat out there to fans of Irish whiskey. So in this case, we have uh, Bart's, which has been in the States for a few years now. I wouldn't call it widely distributed, but it's in a number of states. You, of course, can get it out of Ireland as well. But this would be what I'd call a full Irish, meaning it's got pot still malt grain, 6%. It's slightly peated, and it's also bourbon and sherry cask. Bunratty's another blend sourced with peated malt. Then we have Dunville's. We were just talking about Ecklandville. This is their originally was their sourced um, peated blend. So Three Crowns also you can find in a non-peated form. So this is the peated. And then we have our second nomination of a silky. This is the legendary dark silky, slightly more peated than the original. And then lastly, we have the original blender's cut from Two Stacks. And the chosen favorite here was Two Stacks. So maybe, I don't know if the exact numbers and all this, but this might be the least peated of the five nominees, ironically, but that's okay. Um, it's a fairly complex blend, sourced out of Great Northern, been around for a while. Um, Two Stacks, if you know your fans, independent bottlers, um, with, dozens of different expressions, a lot of limited editions. This is part of their core range. They also have a cast strength variety of this one, and then just dozens of other finishes. Some are pretty exotic. They're very creative, do a lot of different things. Um, so you can always kind of find something good coming out of two stacks, I think. But and I think that's probably why it was chosen as favorite. I think there are a lot of fans of what they're doing. So the next category, try to do this. Usually do this. I think each of the 4 years we've done this, we've chosen a brand, and you can really only do this with a few of them. We may have run out, so I don't know if I can do this again next year, but picking a brand that has a number of different expressions and doing them all in a category. So Tullamore Dew, I think everyone's familiar with, one of the top selling Irish whiskeys in the world. Um, these are 5 whiskeys in their core range. So there are other limited edition Tullamore Dews. But these are the ones that both core range and can be readily purchased here in the States. So we have the original Tullamore Dew blend. Then we have the 12-year. So the first one's non-age statement, second one, 12-year blend. Then we have 2 single malts, the 14-year-old and the 18-year-old, and those both utilize 4 different cask maturations. And then lastly, the rum finished blend. Um, so quite a diverse range within the Tullamore Dew. This category was pretty tight in terms of the votes. So it was kind of back and forth. Um, what was at one point there was some things winning and then other things kind of came roaring back. But in the end, the 12-year blend won out as favorite. So, um, I think what will be interesting with the Tullamore Dew products is going to be um, what we see over the next few years. I'm guessing that their own spirit is part of some of these, but this was a brand that was made out of Middleton until they built the new distillery. It's been around now, what are we, 26? So it's around 12, 13 years ish, maybe a little less, but the 14-year and the 18-year-old single malts would not have been made at Tullamore, but the original, and we're getting close to where the 12-year, certainly the rum finish, those could be all or part made at Tullamore, actually made at Tullamore as opposed to sourced. So anyway, just if you're fans of this or fans of the older expressions, you may want to grab them because this is one of those things that could be going through some changes. I don't know if they'll continue on with the same age statement stuff or they may just come out with completely new stuff at some point. This is kind of one of the things that's going on sort of behind the scenes. It's not typically going to be well publicized. You've got like Teeling would be another example where when they first started out, everything they were doing was sourced because they had acquired so much when they had done the deal. But now they are using their own stuff in their small batch blend, for example, and their pot stills are their own stuff. But with Teeling, a lot of now what they're doing is their own stuff. The only stuff now that's sourced is probably the age statement stuff that's more than a dozen years. because they celebrated their 10th anniversary last year, as an example. So, kind of Tullamore, I think, same boat. Um, they've got stock now, and it's just a question of how they, I think, assimilate it into their existing product line that's already pretty popular. Um, Ecklandville, same boat, I think. They've had such a run of success with their sorts single malts, age statement stuff. So it's probably been a little bit of a challenge to how they introduce their own stuff. And they're doing it, you'll see it this year if you haven't had a chance yet with the old Comer stuff, their own pot still. It's very unique, different than pretty much if anyone has had it, you can tell on the nose, you'll know right away it's from Ecklandville. Um, but definitely different than a lot of the source stuff they were doing. So how some of these newer distilleries kind of evolve some of their products will be interesting, I think, as we go forward. But I think exciting too, because it's bringing different flavor profiles into the mix. So,
Alan, Michael again,
mhm.
at the Tullamore Distillery or the Tullamore Distillery last year,
Yep.
and it's a definitely must. If you guys are planning a trip this year, I would seriously suggest you go there. They have a terrific little opportunity to blend your own whiskey. They've got three very large vessels of single malt, single pot still, and single grain, and you fill out a 12 question questionnaire, and you hit send, and it blends into a bottle right in front of you. And I'm a huge fan of pot still, and I have to tell you, the blend that I put together is wonderful, and it's got its own unique number. So if you ever want them to make it for you again, you have to be at the distillery, but you can give them the number and they'll blend it. So I strongly suggest you make that a priority for your travel this year.
All right. Thanks for the rec. Anyone else been there and partaken in that endeavor?
Not in that one, but the last time we were there, they had to fill your own crock, but they were out of the crocks. They
Okay.
wouldn't fill it into a bottle, so we left empty-handed. I'm glad to hear they've improved since then.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I know a lot of the distilleries have a fill your own. Teeling does it, Clonakilty does it, to name a couple. Short Cross, I think, has it. But that's interesting if Tullamore's allowing you to kind of create your own blend and then effectively save it so that you can recreate it. That's pretty unique.
That's correct. I believe, and I could be wrong, I've heard that they closed the Daniel E. Williams Visitor Center. So your visitors center is now at the distillery. So I could be wrong about that, but I know that they've really tried to focus everything back on the new distillery now. I think it was founded in 2013, so it is 12, almost 13 years old now.
Yeah, so it's just a question now. I mean, they've got aged stock, and it's just how they're using it. Typically, a lot of it's not just Irish. They're not always super public, transparent when they're changing their recipes or introducing new stuff. Some bourbon makers in the past have gone down that road, and the backlash has been pretty loud. So sometimes it's better to just kind of quietly do it. I think Teeling's gone that route. I don't hear too many people complaining, or maybe they didn't even realize that things like the small batch have been, replaced with Teeling malt as part of the blend now, as opposed to how it was done originally.
If I may ask a question, I wasn't aware of the history of Tullamore that you're talking about, where the single malts were made down in Middleton. And I have a whiskey club here in Hickory, North Carolina, and our coming meeting was going to be expressions of Tullamore. And I had standard Tullamore, the rum, the 12, and the 14. And I didn't know the 14 was I don't know the history of the 14. Would you
Yeah,
say
it's not Middleton, because Middleton doesn't do single malts. So Tullamore didn't have their own distillery because it had closed, a number of decades ago. So
Right.
it reopened or was built in 2013. I don't know if they actually started distilling though for another year or two. But in any case, prior to, let's say, 2013 anyway, all the Tullamores that you would have consumed were um, being bottled, let's say, out of Middleton.
Hmm.
So the blend, it's the original blend is a full Irish blend, as I call it, which is the three different styles. But since Middleton doesn't do single malt, I think my understanding is the arrangement was with Bushmills because it's one of the
Oh, okay.
because it's
Oh,
one of the
wow.
older, I don't know for I wouldn't bet my life on it, but
Mhm.
pretty confident that it's one of the oldest, most popular brands. So if you go back the history, there weren't a lot of distilleries, particularly ones that were sourcing stuff. So I think they were getting their malts from Bushmills, the pot still and grain out of Middleton, and then Middleton did the bottling. So the 14 and 18, as an example, would have been most likely Bushmills, and the blends would have been a combination. So now I think it's just a question of how all that's been, uh, those arrangements now, I guess I would say have changed. Best way to say it. So, because they can make all three, but the 18-year-old, for example, is not their stuff.
Okay.
So, but I
So,
wouldn't be, it wouldn't surprise me if the existing products change, the age statements change, or I don't know how they're going to do that, but it'll be interesting, something to watch.
okay. So does a 14 taste like a Tullamore, or is it going to just taste like, I mean, I love Bushmills, but that's not what I was shooting for here.
Um, have you had it before?
The 14?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the 14, 18, I mean, they used to have a 10-year-old single malt, which was, I thought, excellent. I still have a bottle unopened, but that was
I,
a that was a
Alan,
four cask.
that's it.
And then when they rebranded kind of around the time of the new distillery, they
Mhm.
got rid of the 10-year, they did the 14 and 18, but they kept the four cask variety to it. But again, I'm assuming at the time when they did that, given the duration of those age statements, that was Bushmill stuff. I mean, it
Okay.
could have been Cooley. That's why I say I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I think going back in time because Middleton um, and Bushmills work together.
Okay. Thank you.
In terms of how they have arrangements and bottling collaborations and things like that over the years.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of the prior history of Tullamore. But
Okay.
um,
Thank you. Thanks
yeah,
very
I
much.
would say drink it on its own, see if, without trying to not have the built-in biases or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
See what people think.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I won't tell them anything then. We'll just
yeah.
drink and compare them. A
Well,
little bit,
you
we'll have a
tell them
great time
after,
anyway.
see if they like it, and then tell them. But
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks so much.
and Tullamore it promotes triple distilled, so I don't doubt there was anything from Cooley because that's double
no,
distilled.
no, good point. Yep, very good point. Um, so it's harder that used to be the easy way to tell, and then Great Northern can do both, and some others and stuff. So it's getting harder now to tell where stuff's getting sourced because some of these places have been around now for a dozen years, so you can't always go by the age statements anymore. It used to be that simple. Okay, so we only have a couple categories left, I believe. But so, all right. So last few categories, two of which are always kind of exciting, I think each year a little bit. Although maybe least known. Um, first of which is the favorite new in the USA, Irish whiskey. So typically this is actually something that is new. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes it could be uh, a pre-existing product that just didn't have distribution in the States and finally did come to the States. I think in this case, um, that would probably be the case with the last one, but four of these are all new within the last year. So I'll spend a little bit longer on these just because people might not be as familiar with them. But the first is the Acred Stone, um, which is a blend of, this one's pretty interesting if you haven't had a chance to try this one yet. It's I want to say 12 year. I gotta just look at my notes on this. Yeah, it's a 12-year grain and a 7-year malt blend, sherry and bourbon cask, 50% ABV. So it's a little bit different. It's what you might want to call a premium blend. It's not, your 3 to 5 year whiskeys. It's aged whiskeys, higher ABV. Um, History behind it, if you're not familiar with the name, what it refers to. Used to be, I guess, common, maybe centuries ago. Now there's not as many of these stones remaining, but they're like tall. They have a hole in it, so it's like a tall vertical stone with a hole in it, and it used to kind of signify, um, shaking hands through the stone, kind of people on either sides, that kind of thing. So it's got a little bit of a cultural history to it as well. There's one in County Cork. Um, you can kind of look it up. I know there's at least three, I want to say, in Ireland that you can probably visit if you like to get off the beaten path. But this would be another example of, when new brands come in, they want their, especially if they don't have their own distillery, what's their kind of marketing hook gonna be? So that's kind of the background a little bit there, but you can go on their website and read more about that. But it's a pretty interesting blend that's um, on the market now. Second one is another of the trilogy Bond single pot stills that came out the very beginning of the year in 25, and then expanded from there in terms of state distribution. But this one is the Madeira cask version. Third one is the Hinch single malt. So some of you may be saying, well, Hinch has been around. I've seen that in my store for years. The Hinch products were all sourced. Um, One of the ways you can differentiate, because you're still going to find source stuff on the shelves in a lot of places. If you see the white label, like this picture, and the colored band at the bottom, that's kind of a giveaway that's their new labeling. So they came out with a single malt and a peated single malt, and they redid their small batch blend with the new label. And the main difference with all three of these, it's their own distillate. So everything else was sourced probably from Great Northern. Now they've been open long enough. They've got aged spirit, and they've put out those three whiskeys into the States around October-ish, I want to say, last year. So this is the core single malt non-aged statement. Fourth whiskey, it came out at the beginning of 25, first quarter, like kind of in time for St. Patrick's Day. The triple triple chestnut variety. So this is kind of your, what I'd call standard Jameson with a third cask. So the triple triple is going to refer to triple distillation, 3 cask. So this would be a pot still grain blend with bourbon, sherry, and then that additional chestnut cask finish to it, which adds a nice little different element than what you're used to, maybe if you're a Jameson drinker. And then lastly, out of county, Donegal. I want to say they're still in Donegal, right? the Muff Liquor Company. This they've got a couple different spirit products. Their whiskey had been around for a few years, but it just came to the States in the last year or so when they kind of did a rebrand of the bottling. It's a sourced blend from Great Northern. Um, it's a 5-part blend. It actually has a little bit of a peat component to it, 43%. Um, and they've got like a little visitor center, do a few different types of spirits and stuff. So, um, if you're in that area, you can stop in, um, and check them out. Kind of a small family run. They've actually got a couple, I forget who now, but in the last year or so, they got, um, I want to say, some celebrity investment into the company, kind of up their prominence a little bit out there. So they're on social media a lot, but um, that came into the U.S. Um, early last year as well. So those are our five new whiskeys, um, and I'm going to talk a minute more too about just new releases in a second. But before I do that, so out of these five, the chosen favorite was the Boan Single Pot Still. This is whiskey number 4 in those who have a sample pack. So it should say new on it, I believe. Have a 4 at the bottom of the bottle. Um, so this would be a single pot still. So we've done a blend, a single malt. The Writer's Tears was a blend of single malt and pot still. And this is a single pot still with a Madeira finish. So Bowen came out with their own spirit. So they've been pretty busy. So they've got their Whistler range. We've seen several of those tonight, nominated. Those were all sourced while they were doing their own thing. They've been really experimenting with different historic mash bills. They've released a number of limited edition type things. Um, but this is their core range so they released these 3 non-age statement single pot stills with different wine finishes. And I think they were, for the most part, um, they've built up a pretty good following. People like this stuff, and I think these were well received when they came, obviously because it was chosen as the favorite. So, um, those of you that have the sample slancha, very nice bottling too. For those that kind of like I think the bottling's nice. They do with the embossed type glass, but they're they're really doing a lot of interesting things at Bowen.
What is the ABV on that one?
I think these are all 43, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 47.
Okay, it's a little warmer, I can tell.
Those are pretty, I don't know, I think they're pretty readily available. They've got pretty good distribution, anywhere you can get Whistler stuff, you should be able to find that. If you see Whistler stuff in your store, but not this, I would ask the store manager or owner because they can probably order it from the distributor because if they can get one, they can probably get the other. They just may not have ordered it for the shelf. Have of so just maybe we'll spend a minute here before moving on. Um, of the new whiskeys, have people heard of those? Had a chance to sample them at this point? Because one of the issues with the new category is a lot of times people haven't even heard of the stuff or just haven't had a chance to get their hands on a bottle yet.
So from California, I've had some of them, but like a Cordstone, I haven't seen it here. Boan, yes. Hinch, yes. Jameson triple triples in the supermarkets, and So some of them, yes, but others you just can't get them here.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I was looking the other day at the TTMB website because when the with the government shutdown that happened late last year, longest in history or whatever it was, so it affected that as well, and you kind of had this big gap um, to see what was coming to the States, and so I hadn't been on there in a while, so I was on there within the last week or two, and trying to catch up and see what if they kind of backfilled. And there were a number of things that are on there that are coming that I was um, pretty excited about. I made a list, which don't have with me now for some reason, but I mentioned earlier Adara was on there, which I was pretty excited about. Another one that was on there was Mickle. Um, so I know Dingle's got a couple products. Their pot still and 10-year should be in the States. The old Comer I mentioned, that's not on the website yet, but they were estimating June, July timeframe. And there were a number of others on there too. So I was pleasantly surprised because given everything that's been going on with with tariffs and shipping and some of the trade deals and all that kind of stuff, you just never know what might be coming because I know a lot of the Irish whiskey makers have been expanding into other markets, while we try to figure out what we're doing here. So the fact that a lot of stuff, and not just from the big boys, the fact that some of the newer whiskey makers are bringing stuff, I was encouraged by and something to look forward to. Because this year I'm putting together the new category. There weren't a lot to choose from. It wasn't like there were, you know, dozens to narrow it down. It was like, am I going to be able to get five kind of thing? So based on what I've seen so far, it looks like there's at least a dozen of new stuff coming. And that's stuff that's already been approved. So you usually see um, additional stuff ahead of St. Patrick's Day. And then, of course, we've got the whole rest of the year to see what might come. So um, that's encouraging. So something to look forward to. If any of you, you know, see something new pop up on the shelves wherever you are, reach out to the group through the WhatsApp or email or whatever. Let us know that it's hit the shelves because it's one of the things you never really know. You see it, it's been approved, but you just never know when the distributor might get it and get it on the shelves. Okay, a couple to go here. This is the last of finished whiskey categories. So this is PX Sherry, aged Irish whiskey. So we've already seen a couple things already tonight using PX, one being the Limavady. Um, so like I said, the whiskeys could fall into multiple categories, but the rules that I've established for the Izzys is just you can only be nominated once, and main reason that is just so don't want Redbreast to win 6 out of the 12 categories, but also just trying to expand the knowledge and recognition of everybody that's making Irish whiskeys out there. So that's one way to do it, to limit how many times you can be nominated. But in this category, we've got some fairly big names, I think. Um, this would be the um, third of the Bowen Trilogy single pot stills. And then we have the Dingle Core Malt, Core Expression Single Malt, the non-age statement version that's been out for several years now. So that's a bourbon PX sherry maturation. Then one of the favorites, I think, in general, is the Dunville's 10-year PX Sherry single malt. It's one of the first releases they did of their sourced single malts. Then we have the Redbreast PX edition. So this is one of the um, additions over the last few years when they started to um, do what the Iberian series and the uh, American Oak series. They did, they've been expanding their range. Sometimes they're just limited editions, but so they did Lustau, for example, PX. They've got a port version, so they've got a few different things they've added to the core range, or at least done as a limited edition. This one's been out for a few years now. And then lastly, another of the Whistler range. That's the PX I Love You single malt that has been around for a while, that I'm sure a lot of you have had. So PX, pretty popular finishing, cask type, with the gives you that sweet cherry note to the whiskey. And the favorite, again, Redbreast PX edition. So it's tough to beat out Redbreast, I guess. Um, the only way to really do that would be to retire Redbreast to the Hall of Fame and not let it compete, but that's not really fair either. But again, the reason I think it takes a lot of the favorites is because it's just a very well made whiskey. Um, they just released another Redbreast, the Muscatel
Hmm.
finish. So I'm sure that will be nominated next year's Izzy's, either as new or a limited edition. That one, I guess, it's not going to be a permanent part of the range. So that one might be a limited edition entry. But, they keep coming out with different expressions, and they're all generally met, I think, with a lot of approval. So, um, okay. Last category before we get to the legacy favorite. Again, this would be kind of fall under the people may not have heard of all these or been able to try all these because just by the very nature of the category, they're limited. So they either not a lot of bottles or they're not widely distributed or both. So I'll take a second just to go through them. Um, but the Drumshambo, Shed Distillery, single pot still. So the single pot still came out a number of years ago now. One of the first of the newer distilleries to release a single pot still. And they now have a couple different varieties. This one came out last year. It's not going to be part of the permanent range. I think, for example, like the Marsala pot still finish is, I want to say, part of the core range. They've said that the port version, which is what this one is, will not be. So it kind of falls more into the limited edition. So if you're a fan of this Drumshambo pot still, you may want to pick one of these up because they won't be around forever. Second is Fox's Bow. That's an independent bottler out of Limerick. So the original versions in the States, this came out, I want to say primarily through Specs in Texas. The main difference, it's got an additional cask finishing in rum. So that's what differentiates this from the original. Third, we have the Rose Tattoo from High and Wicked, another independent bottler. This actually is non-age statement from Royal Oak Distillery out of County Carlow. Amarone wine finish, and it's what 59.9 ABV. So a little bit higher proof for those of you who like that. Um, Fourth is the Garavogue. This was the whiskey of the month. I don't know, 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. There's a review on the website of this one. This is the first official release from Hawks Rock Distillery um, that kind of rebranded out of County Sligo in the last year, and they released this. It's sourced 20-year single malt. Too many casks to mention. 5 or 6, I want to say, went into this. Might actually be a few more and smaller components. I think I described this one in a good way as a Frankenstein whiskey because it just had so many different components going into it. Sometimes that can work, sometimes it doesn't always work. Um, but this is one you kind of have to sit maybe and think about a little bit as you're drinking. Might be a little bit different each time you try it, kind of thing, because it's got, you might just pick up different things each time you drink it because of all the different cask components. And then the fifth nominee is from Teeling. This is the Notre Dame Phoenix Legends Series #2 that they did that came out in 25. It's a 16-year single malt with a Marsala cask finish. Um, Teeling could probably have its own category limited edition each year because they just release so many different things. Um, Primarily stuff that's, aged, sourced stuff that they acquired as part of the deal when they sold um, the original distillery and kept, Cooley product. But this one I know is um, fairly readily available. I mean, it was big in Chicago area because that's where Teeling has a presence. I've seen bottles of this in my local store, so it's not limited to just Illinois. It's out there in the wild, so you can find it. It's, I think in the case of the Teeling and the Garavogue are what I'd probably call them pricey. Limited editions tend to be a little bit more expensive. Um, I think maybe Fox's Bow might be an exception. Drum Shamble's not too bad. I think it's just a little bit more than the regular core pot still. But one of the things with the limited editions, they can be a little bit pricier because they're one-offs for the most part. Okay, so the favorite chosen was the Teeling. Teeling, again, very popular. Um, so I don't, obviously, if I'm assuming because it was chosen that people have had the chance to sample this one. Um, Sorry, did not include this in the samples. But like I said, it is available, so you can find it out there. Um, I want to say it goes for 250 maybe, price wise, somewhere in that ballpark. All right, so those are the 13 favorites that were chosen in the 13 categories for this year's Izzys. As we've done for the last few years, as part of this, as a little extra, um, I also like to include a legacy favorite. So this is something that's not voted on. It's something that I choose. One of the benefits of so um, and what it all it is something, kind of befitting the name, I guess, legacy. Um, something that I feel is worth recognizing, having a significant impact on Irish whiskey history or the growth or the popularity. So it could be anything, I suppose. Some past winners, Redbreast. Um, I think last year was Connemara. So um, try to pick something that um, has some importance. Because Irish whiskey, while it's been around for a long time, we're in this new Renaissance period where it's really had a rebound or rebirth over the last 15 years or so. So, in some cases, we're just trying to acknowledge some of the things that maybe um, were around before 2010, before it really started taking off again. So I don't know if any people want to hazard a guess on what it might be this year, but um, the whiskey I chose this year, one was a personal favorite of mine. One of the first whiskeys um, I drank when I first went over to Ireland in '07. And it does also have a tie-in because it had been one of the whiskeys that you can't get in the States, and that's going to change in 2026. You might already see it on the shelves any day now. Um, and that is the Crested. So, uh, Crested 10 was the original name. So why did I pick this? Um, Historical significance. It's the first whiskey that Jameson bottled, 1963. So out of Bow Street Distillery. So back in the old days, let's say the way they did it is they sold casks to the bonders. Bonders did their own bottling, and aging and stuff like that. Um, I think Powers and Patties had started bottling their own stuff. Jameson wanted to get control of their product as well as compete with those brands. Um, and so what they did is they released in '63 Crested 10. What's somewhat interesting about it is the name is kind of ironical, as they might say. Um, the 10 doesn't really mean it was 10 years old because it wasn't, not officially. Some of the stuff was over 10 years old, but some of the stuff was less than 10. It was really just a way to try to make it sound more regal, crested for the crest, but more, make it seem like a prominent, important whiskey to kind of go along with the fact that it was their first bottling. Um, but this was kind of like Green Spot in that you could only get it in limited quantities in Ireland until recently. How this differed from, so it's been available in Ireland right along, um, while Jameson original was exploding globally. You could get the Crested 10 in Ireland. Um, it was in most pubs. How it differs from regular Jameson, it's similar, but it's more sherry, more pot still. So this would be another example of a pot still grain blend. 60% pot still, 40% grain. So regular Jameson's going to be less pot still. But it's a 40% blend. Again, a little bit more sherry as well. So originally this was a richer, oilier version of Jameson. They rebranded back in 16, took off the 10, just called it Crested. In the new label, they did um, kind of as an homage to the old. If you look at the picture of the new bottle label, you can see the Roman numeral 10 kind of in the background. But it's like 7 to 8 year old whiskey primarily. Um, but the big news, I think, as I was mentioning earlier, I didn't want to give it away maybe, but um, it's also one of the new whiskeys that's coming to the US. It got approval. They made a big announcement um, towards the end of last year there because they're also rebranding their pot still. So some of you may know that Jameson released a pot still whiskey separately from Redbreast and the Spots. Um, and they're rebranding that. I think it's going to be called Distiller's Choice or something. I forget now. But that, along with the Crested, got approval. So should be showing up in the States anytime now. My guess is they want it on the shelves for St. Patrick's Day. It's kind of a big deal because for years, like two of the whiskeys that you couldn't get here in the States were Green Spot and Crested. And Green Spot came, it's been about 12 years now that Green Spot's been available here. So those are kind of the unicorns. Like if you went to Dublin, you'd look for Green Spot and you could get Crested 10 at duty free. I used to tell people when they'd say, "Oh, what should I bring back on my trip?" I'd always say, pick up a bottle of Crested 10. You can get it in duty free. It was like $25 and it was something you couldn't get here. So it was kind of unique. Now you'll be able to, I guess, get it here. So anyway, that's my spiel. This is also the last whiskey for those that have it in their sample pack. It should say Legacy on it, I believe, with the number 5. So if you haven't already sucked it down, Schlanzer, everybody. And again, I wouldn't call this a super thinker. It's a nice blend. Again, this is one of the first whiskeys, along with Green Spot, that I tried when I went over to Ireland. It goes really nice with a Guinness. So it's one of those kind of companion whiskeys, like with Powers Gold. I think that you can, when you're in a pub and you're having a pint or two, you can have this as a nice companion whiskey. I think it's a little bit of a step up from regular Jameson. But thought it was appropriate that name this one as the Legacy, considering it was going to be coming to the States finally. Has anybody not had Crested or before, or is it?
Alan Michael, I think that was a great choice. I have brought back Crested a number of times from Ireland.
Anybody guess that's where I was going with the Legacy?
I had no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't really expect anyone to guess it, but you never know.
After your quiz last year, we've no idea how your mind works, so no.
That's good.
That is exactly where I was going.
All right.
Keeping them guessing.
You're just thinking one of these years I'm going to finally pick Powers, but
That is true. You will eventually have to get there after
Yep.
you've reduced, you've run out of everything else. I mean, I can give you 5 Powers choices for best Powers next year.
yeah, but I might have to change the rules though.
Why?
For a category or for Legacy?
The category, like your Tullamore Dew. You could have best
There
Powers.
aren't 5 Powers available.
Oh, Alan, I'm ashamed of you. So Powers Gold Label,
Mm-hmm.
Powers Three Swallows, Powers John Lane,
Mm-hmm.
Powers Gold Label in a smaller bottle,
Powers Rye,
Powers Rye. There you go. That's 5.
I had that as a category.
Powers Signature.
Signature
which would be legacy because was available in the States. It
True, yeah.
absolutely
So,
qualifies.
Yeah, but it's not available anymore. I
but
searched.
my 5R, if you count the two different Go labels, the bottle size.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I feel I had that as a thing. That was a stretch, but I actually was in the running this year, and then I said, you know what? I can do the pot still grain blend category, and I get powers into that. So I decided that was how I'll get powers into the mix this year.
As long as you know we'll never be happy and there's always opportunity for more powers in the categories.
Well, you won't be
You'll
happy
never
even if I
win.
do it, because then it'll be if they bring cast strength here, then that would make it really easy, because then that would be
Well,
the five.
there would be pointless voting because cast
there,
strength would win.
there-
You never know. Some
there's
people
actually there's
don't like the cast strength.
there's actually a 16 that I bought at the Dublin in Dublin. It was very limited release. It was a single cast, but it's out there.
Yeah, but it's not in the States though. It has to
Right,
be
that's correct. That's correct. And
I mean, we can argue how much powers is in the States. I have like close to 30
yeah, I was
bottles
gonna
in the
say if
States.
we did it by what is in Kean's basement, then I could have a category of probably 42 different nominees. We'd have to, that'll be when we do we'll take the Izzys on the road that year and, do it out of
Live from my
California.
house, yes.
I think I have
I-
4 different 15 years.
yeah, I have to tell you, there's one of the things that was interesting about this is, and I think I've shared this with you all before, but Kansas City's a secondary market, so there's a number of whiskeys that you have presented in these Izzy Awards that I've never seen before.
Mm.
And it's frustrating. I have to run around all over town because different wholesalers are selling to different retailers, but some of them I just haven't seen. So it's always interesting to participate in this and see what other people are drinking and have opportunity to drink. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I think, some states obviously are better than others in terms of their inventory. Uh, and one of the bridges to that was you could get things shipped, and that got a little bit complicated, obviously, in the last 12 months. Um, and I think it's prevented some people from being able to get a lot of stuff. But some, there's still, there's definitely things you can get in Texas and California that you can't get in Massachusetts, I think, and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
All right.
but
I know you made a Connaught distillery product available to us a couple years ago. That was a fantastic product, and the distillery tour, it was very fascinating as well. I thought they were doing a really good job. I think they sold out to a Japanese company. I don't know where that company's going. I don't see any distribution here, but that whiskey was
They've
terrific.
relabeled. They're now Ballina Distillery versus Connaught Distillery.
They're Ballinade. Is that what you said?
So Ballinad's the town they're in, but they've
yeah.
just renamed to be from Ballina versus the province of Connaught.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can actually, and they just listed their products on Irish malts. So they have two new single malts.
Yeah, I think it's a double distilled and a triple distilled.
Yeah, so they're both available on Irish Malt's website now. So you can take advantage of that, use the member discount. But I tried them both at Palace Bar in December. So, and I try to get back there. I was there prior to their rebranding a number of years ago. But a lot of the distilleries are bringing their own product to market. Unfortunately, they all haven't come to the States yet. But it's great when they do come to the States, definitely try them. It's just, Mickle is another one, the old Comer, um, the Crawley distilleries got their stuff now. Hints just brought their stuff. So, a lot of these places are bringing their own stuff, so it's great to just be able to drink stuff that, nothing against Middleton or Great Northern, but you get to see the way some of these smaller places are doing things, and it's pretty unique, so it's good.
But I think it's a way of like I could drink Redbreast every day and like I'm drinking a nice whiskey every day, but I want something interesting. I want something different. I don't always want it to be exactly the same.
Yep.
I
My
totally.
pot still from our Dara sample, 3-year sample, is coming as soon as I can get stuff here that I know is actually going to get here.
Well, what I tried of your pot still when I was there was very, very nice. So
Yeah.
Did you leave any left, or are you going to just get a little mini bottle?
I think I get
they
a
they, they
hundred.
brought
I
us
think
out. They said this is all Hank would allow, and I think it was like 2 teaspoons between us. But yeah, no, it was good.
I know, Hank, with that, I think I might do the old empty suitcase route and mule it back myself, given
yeah. Well,
something like,
it's looking a little better today. I'll let you know what happens tomorrow.
all right. These were the favorites along with the legacy. So 2 redbreasts. We had Teeling, in terms of, so a lot of kind of blue bloods in here. Powers, Middleton still kind of dominated this year. But we got Bowen and 2 stacks into the mix, Limavady. Try to create categories to expand the choices so it's not dominated by Middleton. But it varies from year to year. I want to say there were so what we had 12 whiskey categories. So we had 60 whiskey nominees this year, and 54 of the nominees were new nominees this year. So it's not like we're retreading the same whiskeys every year. So a lot of new choices this year. But in one way or another, a lot of times the Middleton stuff dominates. I think a lot of that too is, um, well, I think there's 2 main reasons why Middleton dominates. One, it's just a good whiskey, but it's also the most widely distributed. So some of the states that don't see the Bowen or the Silky or some of these other things, you can pretty much find Redbreast and Jameson in your store. So I think it's the most well-known stuff, which leads to it garnering a lot of favor, when we do these kind of award stuff. So no problem with that. Anybody have any favorites that they thought might win but didn't?
Ooh.
These were different categories, Alan.
Mm-hmm. I try.
Yep.
I guess for me, my go-to whiskey is Jameson Black Barrel, and part of that is I come from a bourbon tradition. My dad was a wild turkey drinker, so that nose has been very prominent for me. And I understand that we're really trying to expand our horizons a little bit, but I thought maybe that one was a surprise. I thought I do a lot of whiskey tastings here, and that's my bridge from bourbon to Irish is Jameson Black Barrel, and so I poured a lot, and it's very well received. But I understand that those of us that are more sophisticated Irish whiskey drinkers may look at other whiskeys, and it certainly Powers is a nice. The Powers Gold label is a really nice whiskey, so I'm not going to take anything away from that. I consider that to be my bar whiskey here in my pub. So,
Well, to be fair too, the Black Barrel has won, I want to say 2 times before.
has it?
So it's a 2-time Izzy winner, I want to say. At least, and then it was neck and neck with the Powers Gold. That was one of the categories that came right down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of was back and forth, in terms of when I'd look from day to day, one would be ahead of the other kind of thing. So, um,
When I do my tastings, I usually don't pour Gold Label. I usually pour Three Swallows, getting into a single pot still for my newbies, and I really love that whiskey. So it's I pour three swallows a lot, so I know that wasn't a category this year that it could have won, but and correct me if I'm wrong. I was under the impression the Power Signature was rebranded as Three Swallows. Can somebody refute that, or can somebody
No,
validate?
they coexisted.
Okay, yeah,
So Three Swallows, Signature, and John's Lane all existed at one point, and
They dropped signature and raised the price of three swallows.
yeah.
mhm.
There really wasn't enough of a differentiation between the three. So I guess is the reasoning there. So
I
um,
have to tell you, I'm not a fan of the rebranded bottle. So when people come into my whiskey snug here, they're seeing the old bottles because I will just refill them.
I don't think anyone likes the new Paris bottles. I will give it the rye is nice, but the gold label, no, that should have stayed the
There's
way
no
it was.
gold label. There's no
I
gold
know.
label.
yeah, but that's the only one of the old one that was appropriate. I love the new bottles. I know I'm in the minority, but
Well, I don't know if you all can see this, but this was an original Powers bottle, and it's got the Powers embossed in it. So it's going back to the Powers tradition. I mean, this was obviously their first bottle. So you brought that up. So I know that Middleton acquired Napo Castle. Are you aware of that?
yes.
Or no, Ricard?
Mhm.
So I was shocked when I walked in the Middleton distillery last year, and there was a whole row of Napo Castle products, the 12s, 14, 16, and 21. I assume they're going to be making it there, so that would mean that
No, I think
No, Bushmills.
they've actually sold it again.
really,
They have, but it's single malt, so it's Bushmills.
Yeah, it
yeah,
was never made at Middleton. Middleton was bottling it and owned the brand, but Bushmills was making it.
okay. So who bought it, and is it still?
I forget it was acquired by a private company that I want to say it's their first Irish whiskey. They have a couple other spirits. It happened within the last 3 or 4 months. I forget the name now, but I'd have to look it up.
Well, I pour a lot of that 12-year-old because it's got a really classic single malt nose. It's aged exclusively in
Yeah, it's a
bourbon
bourbon
barrels.
only. Yep.
So you really get a lot of that orchard fruit nose on it, with the vanilla and caramel and I get a lot of newbies that really love that whiskey.
Did you see my suggestion that you do a blind tasting? One or
No.
two? Do it like next year. Consider doing in one or two categories. You got to prepay, you get blind samples.
Yeah, I've thought of doing that, and it's just a question of the timing and
Yeah,
interest level because with the holidays and some of the other things, and if I'd feel maybe better about it if there was better voter participation, to be
fair.
honest.
Yep.
Um,
It is a great way of trying things without knowing what you're
yep,
tasting. It removes preconceptions. And
definitely. Oh yeah, because I think that's part of why Middleton does so well. I think sometimes people look at a category and they just opt for the one they know, even
Well, one thing that you could do, since you sent us these five samples, we don't know what they are. You could ask us to vote on what we think are the best.
well, yeah. Well, we could do a blind at some point, maybe.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So it's any ideas are certainly welcome. Um, because I'm part of it is just to get greater participation. Because I would say, I'm trying to think now, less than 20% of members voted.
I think that comes down to how many of the members are active members
Yeah.
versus I've
Yep.
bought a yearly subscription or a lifetime subscription. I don't need to do anything again.
Yep. So that's part of it. I mean, because I do open up the voting to non-members, and it was probably 60-40 split, members to
Maybe
non-members.
it's you know, each year, hey, we'll be doing a blind voting. If you want to participate, it's $20 or whatever it costs
Yep.
you to send stuff out. And that way at least gets people to actively say, I'm going to put my money where it is. I want to do this again this year.
Yeah, I think if I do it, it would have to be a bare minimum though, so
Yeah,
it's
and
not
I'm
just
making up a number. I don't know what it costs you to
no, I
make a
don't mean
sample like
cost
this.
wise, I mean more like if only three people wanted to do it, it would kind of limit the or
You mean Kurok would win?
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that would be that would be a 1 year only blind tasting if I because people would probably be afraid I'd include like a peated or something. So
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
but
put our dar in there then.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
for Hank, when I was in the Shelburne bar just after Christmas, and I was asking, did they have anything from the Cork Whiskey Festival? They're like, no, they brought me out a Stories and Sips cologne. It's like, yeah, I have that. That's grand. They brought me out the cologne, or not the cologne, the Curragh, the Western Herd. I'm like, yep, I'll have that, please. And a friend of mine went to get another round. She's like, what should I ask for? Just ask for the seaweed whiskey. They'll know what you mean. And they did.
Oh God.
They've been kind of quiet. They haven't come out with anything new that I've seen. Usually like every 6 months or so, they're doing a new variety. I haven't seen
I
one
think they're
lately.
trying to pick countries Hank can't get it from. I
Yeah.
believe Ulaanbaatar has a new Curragh out, and
Do they?
North Korea as well. Yes.
Are you serious?
No, I'm making these places up.
They
I
have it in
mean,
Singapore. I have my Singapore contacts that are constantly
I
searching.
know. So therefore, I'm picking other countries you don't
Okay.
have
I'm
contacts in.
sorry. I got a butt dial for my wife coming back from the hockey game that we won.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so
Well, I appreciate you participating. If I'm in conflict with the Canes.
she got to take her friend who likes to go. So
I,
and
I,
I let them deal with the snow.
So I'm gonna pour.
Powers Rye or the Boan Rye.
This is the two stacks,
Yep.
100% Irish rye, so it's malted, unmalted. Has anyone tried this?
I've never.
Yes.
Sitting in James Fox.
This one is I tried this a few weeks ago.
Is
I
that
picked it up in
20 or
December.
23 or 26?
I'm sorry?
The cask number. They've released three of them so far.
Yeah, so this is
23.
cask
23
26.
probably.
26.
26? Is that the one in the Mickle barrels?
Wild
Oh,
turkey.
okay. I think it's one. They did a very limited run of things in ex-Mickle barrels, but it was sold out by the time I saw it.
Yeah,
Which
so
Mickle barrels?
It
Like
didn't
the
say.
Pachin?
It just said Mickle.
yeah, so this was one that they had at the Celtic Fest
Yeah.
beginning of December, but
So
has strength and it's pretty funky, which I like, but it's Bowen
a
Distiller.
funny story is another whiskey society did a whiskey cruise in the Caribbean.
Mhm.
And this was one of the bottles that was tried in the ocean off a small island. And we had people there from Two Stacks and from Killowen. And they said, this is the first 100% Irish rye whiskey. Standing behind them was Billy Lighton. And the
Oh.
crowd was like, no, it's not. It's the second 100% Irish rye whiskey
Did
after
he did
Powers.
he did he interject or did he let it
He
go?
laughed, but it's a very nice whiskey. That was one of the other ones I was going to open today, but it's delicious.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people are still on, but my question to you,
6.
up until about 4 years ago, I was seeing a lot of new Irish whiskey on the shelves here, but now it seems like the pressure bourbon from bourbon casks, craft distillers, and especially tequila and mezcal distillers is just killing the release of new products here in Kansas City. It's just really disturbing.
Well, part of it too, though, was there was a glut from COVID where product came over and because the demand was so high during COVID, so they brought off so much product, and then when everybody stopped drinking, and then all the tariffs hit, and some of the distilleries got in trouble in Ireland, so like they really cut off all the products coming over. So a lot of it is a catch up. There is some expectation that 26, um, if they've burned through all that excess inventory, that you'll start to see new stuff come over again. But a lot of the distributors just didn't want to take on any new product because they had so much. sitting on the shelves or in their warehouses that they had to get through. So that's part of why you didn't see a lot of new stuff either. Because I see it too. It's not even, and it's some of the big names. You go in and the shelves are empty.
Well, I've seen a lot of Redbreast cask strength here for $79.
Buy it.
Yeah,
Yeah, buy it.
yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I
And
think
even though I'm here in Missouri, and finally the price of the Missouri Oak Redbreast has come down, I am not a fan of that whiskey. That is totally out of their genre, in my opinion. It's way more bourbon oriented than it is Irish whiskey. I'm not a fan.
But that can also be what they're trying to do to convert more bourbon fans. Same with Blue Spot. It was cask strength. It was limited edition. So the target market is the people that drink bourbon. They go, oh, I want a high ABV alcohol Irish whiskey that I enjoy. So it's trying to convert people to a new category. Same with Jameson when they did the pot still. It was get Jameson drinkers to drink pot still whiskey. Sell them a more expensive product.
you can road trip though. That Forest Farm there that does the casks for the Missouri Oaks, probably not within a decent drive from your house. You could sample it there. You might like it better.
Well, I mean, it's all over Kansas City, and it was originally sold for around $199 a bottle, and now Costco has it for $129. I do have a couple bottles of it because I pour it for people here in when I'm doing whiskey tastings from time to time, but I'm just not a fan of it. I love traditional Redbreast, and it just really doesn't fit in their normal uh, uh, wine cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love La Stout. That's my favorite. So
Yeah,
And
well,
I think that's fine. I think there's always things you won't like or things that don't fit. Like no one would have said, yes, Powers Rye makes sense for the Powers family, but it's a nice whiskey.
it
But
is
it would be boring if we all liked the same things.
truly. This has been really a fun experience, and I really enjoy interacting with all of you folks. One of the reasons why I do the events that I do down here is to be around other like-minded people. It seems like my core group of friends are mostly wine and beer drinkers. And so by doing Irish whiskey tastings here for charities, it really opens up my opportunity to introduce Irish whiskey to other people and really to share the real glory of this beautiful spirit. It's really amazing. And I'm so pleased that we're seeing such a renaissance of Irish whiskey. And I love the fact that we're seeing a lot of experimentation like the rye. So thank you all for hanging on and sharing a little bit of your personal desires and beliefs in what we do here.
It's very easy with those categories. You do green spot or yellow spot. You get wine fans in to say these are the wine barrels that were used, especially with the different green spots. I've done it like most of the people that come to my tastings are beer judges, beer brewers, and we've done recently Lochgill and Boan's. They get to try beers and whiskies, and it's very easy to convert people. Or they just like free alcohol, one or the other.
Well, that's truly part of the case. But I will say this: people leave here with my card, and it's not unusual for me to get text messages during the day saying, "Hey, I'm at Total Wine. Should I buy this one or this?"
Yep.
So it's nice that people leave here with a better understanding. And I always tell people, this is your this is your assignment. My assignment is to introduce you to the different styles of Irish whiskey. Your job is to leave here with a better understanding of what you like and understanding the difference between a $35 whiskey and a $65 whiskey. If you can do that, then you're going to make good informed decisions.
See, the only thing I'd say about that is that's where blind comes in.
Yep.
Because I do blind with Slane, and people swear it's $100 whiskey.
Yeah.
right? And so I like the idea that there's elements of that, but there's so many different, like my when I do it with people is get them to understand the different styles and what you're getting from the different styles of Irish, because everyone thinks Irish is one style, and now when you take them through four, then you can get them to look at things in different ways.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, the price can be really misleading,
Well,
especially.
I think it's that price isn't as important as you may think. Just because something is more expensive does not mean it's better than something that is less expensive.
Well, and a lot of it too is the price is a reflection on whether you're a conglomerate or a micro distillery
Or whether you decide you want to have a prestige or premium whiskey and you price it accordingly. Because you go,
Yep.
people will buy this because it's expensive. They won't buy it if it's cheap.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think price, age, all that stuff is irrelevant. One of my favorite whiskeys is a 3-year-old Cologne, and I will argue with anybody all day long about it.
Richard,
You
have you
do
had
that on your own
Waylock?
whiskey pub? Come back with that, please. We've missed it.
What?
Richard, have you had Waylock?
I have the Blaylock. It was what was one of the early ones that came out?
Well, it was probably about a year and a half old. Donegal Mountain Dew. Was it the Father, the Son, or the Holy Smoke?
Yeah.
No, this was a club release by somebody, or I think it was.
I'll tell you, there's Total Wine has Ides and Stills, which is not a bad whiskey for $16. I am not. My mantra is life is too short to drink young whiskey, but I have to admit somebody brought this in here and I thought, damn, I can make really
I'm
good.
going to say cheap whiskey and young whiskey are two very, very different things. Boylock have had stuff that's 12, 18 months old, and it is fabulous.
Yeah.
It is really good, and their first whiskies will be out soon. And what they're doing, what Richard is doing, is fabulous. There, it's young, it's not cheap, but yes, life is too young to me to drink cheap whiskey.
Do you know what they're going to do when they come out with stuff? Is it going to be just to the cask owners, or is it going to
It's
be?
going to start there, and we have pre-release
Yep.
access, and then he's going to. I'm not. He's probably going to sell it through his website initially. Would be my guess.
Which means Irish shipping only, so ship to Irish whiskey auctions, and then
Yeah.
they will
Or
ship
James
it on
Fox
to you.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this might not be a popular belief amongst everybody here, but one of the things that I turn everybody on to is 2 Stacks Double Oak.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
runs about $25 to $30, and I tell you what, every single non-Irish whiskey drinker I've given that to has fell in love with it.
Yep.
So I have the joy of being the whiskey person on a friend of mine is organizing a beer tour, his first beer tour in Ireland. He does beer tours in Belgium, Czechia, Germany, and he's doing an Irish one this year, and I'm his whiskey person. So I've got already a lineup of the core 2 Stacks range and then other 2 Stacks cans for everyone to try because it's a great range for people to try of different things.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the nice things about 2 Stacks is you can kind of get a little bit of everything.
Yep.
At one spot,
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I haven't seen 2 Stacks in Kansas City anywhere, so I will look for it. I'll ask for it too. So where is 2 Stacks Distillery? We're going to be in the
Newry.
It's
not
not
a
a distillery,
It's-
though.
where?
It's not a distillery. They're a bottler. They're in
Okay.
Newry.
Okay.
But you can also see, well, if you arrange it with them, you can see the assembly line of it because they make the little cans. You can watch how they fill the cans.
Okay.
And go to Cologne if you're there.
So here's a technical term. 2 Stacks, why are they not a bonder? Or are they a bonder?
They are a bonder.
Do they call themselves a bonder?
I think they call themselves
Yeah.
bonders and bottlers. They think
call-
they do
yeah.
both. So they age some
Bonders and
stuff on
bottlers.
site and then they bottle. Yeah.
Okay.
That's like the rye that Allan opened. That was from 2 Stacks, but it's a Boan one. But I would imagine that was probably aged. Well, they've done 3 of them, so I imagine they're bottling them themselves rather than bottling it in Boan.
I think they bottle most of their stuff there. From
Yeah, I'm trying to
when I
see if
visited.
they.
So technically aging, even if it's only half an hour from it arrives in a container and we bottle it.
Yeah. the thing to look for from Two Stacks every year is their pillars of creation, because they take 3 or 4 different new distilleries and blend them together. Like pillars of creation this year it's Dingle, Mickle,
Mickle.
I thought Dingle was the
Ecklandville.
first year. I didn't think
Eckland-
No,
Dingle was this
Dingle's
year.
in this one too, I think.
Yeah,
Is it?
Mickle and Ecklandville were in this one.
Is the latest one 4-1?
No,
Well,
that's
no, it's
the
a different one.
Polaris. That's Polaris. That's different to Pillars
Oh,
of
there we
Creation.
go.
But the latest Polaris is 4-1, yes, and that's
Okay.
lovely.
My mistake.
Yeah, it's hard to keep. I mean, that's all stuff that you never see here in the States, which is why I don't include whiskeys in the Izzys that you can't get here, because then it would get really crazy.
So instead, you had all kinds of obscure whiskeys you can get in the States, but in very few
And
places.
that's only because you live
we
in
won't
a
even
back,
talk.
you
We
live in
won't
a
even talk
backward
about
state.
that, Alan.
Hank, you just got to move to a. If you were back in New Hampshire, you would have known most of those.
Yeah, Dingle, Ecklandville, Bowen, and Mickle this year.
Okay.
Hey, Hank, are you have you settled on your full itinerary for your trip? Because it looks like you're going for quite a while this year.
Yeah, I haven't figured everything out yet. I think we're staying until Tuesday, because and we're going to go up to Belfast afterwards because I want to go to Copeland. But I think I'm going to rent a car from downtown because it looks like.
Do you want to we can talk separately, but I was contacted by Laura at Copeland a couple days ago because she was asking if I was going to bring the group back this year, and I haven't responded yet, but she was inviting me or us to the warehouse.
I invested in a Cask
Okay.
in their program, so I think if you want to go after, I'm staying till Tuesday. If you want to
Okay.
go
No,
after,
I'm bringing it up because when we
Yep.
went, we only went to the distillery. We didn't
Okay.
then go because the warehouse is a trip from there. And we
Okay.
went to Hinch instead, but she was saying if you wanted to come up to the warehouse, so I was
Okay.
if I was just
figure it
saying
out.
I didn't know you had gotten the Cask.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go to the warehouse, I
So
can help you
I'm
out
planning where we can go to see Puffins for Connie, and then we're going to some other places as well. I want to go. I want to go to Tullamore and blend my own. That's for
Okay.
sure.
Were you guys going to go to Kilkenny at all?
Yeah, we're absolutely going to Kilkenny's.
You know-
I'm trying to figure out when we sync up with you.
Well, I was going to say,
Um,
let me know because like if you wanted to go to like see Dahi and Ballykeith and like Waterford Crystal, that's the Thursday.
When are you all going to be in Ireland?
Well, I'm going to be there multiple times, but I'm taking the group over.
Alan goes constantly.
First
When
week
is
of
he
June.
not in Ireland?
First
I'm there
week of
like
June is the
May.
group.
I'm there till June 9th, and May 22nd, I think, is when I leave.
I'm
Think
end
of
of April through mid-May, and then back again October, late October.
Okay. We're going to be there September 4th through 21st. And we'll be over in County Cork mainly. So all the southern distilleries, so Clonakilty and I think there's some new distilleries in
You can go to Black's. That's a good beer and distillery tour.
Blacks.
Yeah, Black's and they're in
Kinsale.
Kinsale.
Okay. Fantastic.
And
Thank you.
if you haven't been there, the Shelburne Bar in Cork is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. Ask for Karak there.
Hank, have you gotten your
Or
Mickle
that
stuff
seaweedy
yet?
whiskey.
No, I've been waiting to make sure stuff gets here because we've been doing stuff. I forget what's coming in this shipment. I think I have one of the old combers. I got Lady McKenna that the woman did with
Yep.
him, and I think I have a Irish Whiskey Society samples, and I think we threw one other in there. It may have been the Copeland 3.
Yeah, but both my old cumbers arrived this week, so the regular and the other one
Yeah.
labeled
But
appropriately.
if this gets through, then the Mickles coming and other stuff is coming.
And was your Irish Whiskey Society the stocking stuffer one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's waiting for me. That mine was also a misdelivered. We sent your whiskey to a wrong address, but we've collected it for you.
So on
Yeah.
those old combers, I gotta say I'm not a big fan of the new releases.
No.
At least the initial pours.
They're funky. They're very different. They're like they smell. Their nose is like paint tarnish.
There you go. There, yes.
No, they're very funky. If
We
you
did those Friday night. We did the original, then we did the 2 7-year-olds, and they're not what I remember.
Yeah, well, the Old Comer blend, if you've had that, there was always something a little kind of like, wow, what am I tasting here? And when you drink the new pot stills, because there's no grain,
Yeah.
you get just the full paint tarnish to it. Like, usually if you smell like a dingle, on the
You know it's a
nose it's a
dingle.
dingle. That doesn't even hold water to the like these are like, whoa. Like if that's gonna be the Ecklinville note, you smell it like a room away. It's really weird.
It
Should I
really
compare
is.
it to the pot still of the New Beginnings, Alan? Should I nose those together? Are they
Um,
similar?
I don't know. It's just I was like, wow, and it was
Okay.
funny because I immediately was like, wow, this must be what I always found a little funky about the Old Comer blend, which I
So
like.
the first time
Yeah.
I smelled Ecklinville New Make was an Irish whiskey stout. I think it reminded me of silage or rotting grass, which I
Yeah,
liked and my wife hated. She was
yeah,
sitting beside me.
it's gonna be very polarizing, I
Yeah.
think.
But
The
I
nose for
like
people,
for
but
beer, I like the funky horse blanket smell. I like
Hank,
sour
you're
beers.
gonna
I
love
like
it.
weird
You're
tastes.
gonna love
Yeah.
it because you're gonna think it's like a offshoot of the seaweed.
Does it open up
Nice.
any?
Does it open
Yeah,
up?
the it doesn't necessarily translate fully to the taste, I would say. Like it's not like I don't think it tastes funky. I think the nose is funky though.
For us, we both went because I had a friend over and we opened up one of the original. We opened up the both 7-year-olds, and the original was like nothing. I mean, we didn't get nothing off the nose. We didn't. The taste was like watered down water, and then we moved into the 7-year-olds, and it was funky all the way around. And it's like, okay, we're gonna give it 2 or 3 weeks here, and we'll go back in and we'll do another 3 bottle sample again. But the first time I got it was the first time they came out and they did the grain added and
Mhm.
everything, and I got that, and I'm like, I tell everybody this was the last couple sips of a milkshake, a vanilla milkshake, creamy and vanilla, and just oh man, it's so good. And that's what I was hoping for on this. And on these 3 bottles, I got none of that. And it's like, okay, this is completely different from what I remember.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be interesting. A lot of because what I'd call the traditional Irish whiskey drinkers are obviously embedded with Middleton. So stuff like the Adara, the Old Comer, some of this stuff is going to be like, whoa,
Whoa. Yeah.
it's so different than what they're used to. Because if all you've been drinking, and it's not a put down or insult or anything, but like most people have drank Great Northern and Middleton. Like that's 90% of what they've had. So these things are going to be way out there, I think, for some.
So I
Well,
realize I
No, no
misstated
different from
earlier. Has
going.
anyone had the Winter Solstice? Any of the 2 Winter Solstice releases from the line?
The
I have.
previous ones, yes. This year's ones, they're still in Ireland.
Yeah, mine's are waiting. Alan, you've had it?
Yeah. When
Good.
I was at the Celtic Fest, I drank
Yeah.
them there. Um,
I mean, you're going to tell us they were good.
yeah, well, that was one of those, like what Hank was talking about earlier. It was like, try these, try this, it was like, you're drinking like 7 or 8 things from
Yeah.
there, and it's like, and this was after I had spent about 40 minutes at the Celtic table there,
Mhm.
where I tried that table was unbelievable because they had all their new limited edition stuff.
Yep.
They were all like the
Oh,
Teeling
you're
10-year
yeah.
pot still, the I don't even remember. Like they had so many. They had the new Dahi's new one. They had all kinds of stuff. I was there. I couldn't believe how long I was at the Celtic table. Oh, the new they had like three new Celtic casks.
Well, one of
So
my
Wow.
one of my favorite whiskeys. Well, actually, I'll say 2 of them. The KD 202 from Cologne. I don't remember what they call it. It's peated something or another. It's tawny port, and then the Stories and Sips Clonakilty
That was
relive
very
release.
nice. Yep.
Those are 2 of my favorite, and people are like, "Oh, you gotta no, those are excellent." And both
My
of them
question
are.
for Killowen is, when are they going to release something that's 7 year?
When
They
they've
won't.
got 7-year-old spirit.
Well, they got to be getting close. Like, he keeps putting out 3 year and 4
They're
year
getting
stuff.
close. They're at 5,
Well,
they're at 6. I
Yeah.
know the Irish Whiskey Society, they want to keep their cask till it's 10, but I don't think
Okay.
they have anything that's 7-year-old yet.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not even doing, like, I don't even know if they've done a 5 or a 6 year yet.
I think they have.
Have
I
they?
think they've done a
I'd have
5,
to double check, but
Brendan
yeah.
said that was the only 5 he would do.
Because that's what I'd like to see, some of the stuff they've done, what it's like after
Yeah.
a few more years. Not many people have been able to get their hands on it, though.
Well, I'll share a little story with everybody here. I think it's funny. I don't know if anybody's interested, but I bought a cask, a 16-liter cask from Mail Long.
Yeah.
And it was a PX cask, single pot still. They could not sell it to me in the cask, so they bottled it, sent it over here. I put it back in there. When the bottles got here, I put it back in the cask. I aged it for another 3 and 6 months. I bottled at each point. But then when at 6 months, it started going south to me. Just my preference. It's starting to get a little oaky, so I emptied it, but I didn't want the cask to dry out. So I went and bought 175, 6 of them, and I dumped Jameson Standard in there. Just because it's cheap, and I didn't want my barrel drying out.
Yep.
So I did that for a couple months, and I pulled a few bottles out because I had some friends going down to other friends for Thanksgiving. All right, here's some whiskey. You know, we didn't know if it tasted good. I hadn't tasted it or anything, but we bottled up a few bottles, and over Thanksgiving they tried it. I pulled a bottle and I kept it here. We got online, and it's like, hey, this is really nice. You would never tell that this was a Jameson, you know. And then I pulled another 6 bottles just before Christmas, and I just had a friend up here from Colorado, and he's talking about, I absolutely hate Jameson. He says it's not undrinkable, but my God, it is so just, it's not a good drink. And
Right.
I let him talk and everything. I just happened to casually get up. I went over to a box that I had, and I pulled out a 375. One of these. In fact, it was this one. I pulled it out and just set it here, and I said, we'll have to try my homemade here when we get a minute. We pulled it out, and he started nosing it, and he's going, this is the best whiskey I've ever nosed in my life. This is so nice. And he just set the nose in it. And it's like, all right, we talked about it a little bit. I never told him what it was or anything. And it's like, all right, it's lunch. And he goes, I don't want to stop smelling it. This is wonderful. And he's not an Irish guy. Let me tell you that.
Yep.
He's a bourbon guy. But he kept nosing it. And pretty soon he's like, all right, I'll taste it. He goes, and he didn't say anything for a long time. I said, well, you either don't like it or there's something up here. He goes, honestly, there's so much going on. He says, I get a taste of something, and then it starts going away, and then something else comes in here. He liked to crap himself when I said, that's standard Jameson aged in another barrel.
Hence the blind whiskey taste.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why you said blind.
This is what I think I like.
Yep. I mean, and it is. I'm not a big Jameson fan. I'll rarely buy a standard Jameson.
Never.
But it was cheap, and I threw it in the barrel, and
it
was actually really nice.
I bought it on Aer Lingus last time because they no longer seem to sell Teeling, but I wanted a whiskey on the flight. But yeah, otherwise I don't buy regular Jameson.
I'm on my first Aer Lingus flight this May.
Oh, that's right. They entered your market.
Straight from Raleigh.
Yeah, so at the moment, no Teeling, just Jameson if you want it. But free beer, so you know. I mean, free. You can have free Carlsberg, or you can pay for Heineken, so it's free beer.
We're splurging for business class on the way over, and then
wow, that is a
sorry. I've seen the Aer Lingus prices. That's splurging.
So did I, because I was like, on American they have 3 tiers. I'm like, okay, we'll do the upgraded tier. There was an upgraded tier, and it's like, I'm like, well, let's just see what this is, and then it's going to be like the dilemma, because my wife is very cost conscious more than me, but she's going to be like, oh, we got to do that again. But I'm like, we're not doing it both ways.
Where my fear is, and Leanna's sitting right beside me. I'd rather do it on the way back, because if you're doing the way over,
that's going to cut into your the whiskeys she'll let you buy on your trip.
No,
Because you spend so much.
she's the enabler. She's the problem.
That's true. She's the one that always eggs you on to buy a cat. Buy a cask. Get it.
Yeah,
Get
let's
one.
get a cask. And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I just got a good bonus. It's time for me to buy a cask." Like she
Wait,
really wants to buy.
that works.
She wants to buy a
Sorry.
single malt from James. I think.
Hang on a second. Leanne, can you buy a cask, please?
Yeah.
Oh, she's just laughing at me. It doesn't work that way here.
So I have a message into Park at Mickle and he hasn't gotten back to me yet, but I'm wondering what product he's trying to get into the States. I'm drinking the Irreverent now.
I have a bottle of the Long Walk here, and I'm not going to ask to try the cask, the Society cask around there because I'm there with a dozen people. But yeah,
So I brought back the bottle number 2.
Yeah.
From there, and we opened it a couple weeks ago with the group here. So that's
Your bottle?
basically, well, no, it's their second release.
Oh, okay, not the bottle from your cask.
No. So
which I've tasted and was lovely about 2 years ago. So I imagine it's even better now.
So the release though, it's the mash bill of their second release is the same mash bill
Right.
as ours.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just a different cask. So this was exclusively PX.
Okay.
Where
Mine's
ours
tawny.
is exclusively chestnut. So
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm not pushing it yet because it's the way things keep changing, but because right now he's still not shipping.
Right. Right.
So right now I don't know if the cask was ready now, I don't know what I'd do. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad it won't be ready till July.
My cask with blacks matured. They said I could cash it in 6 months. They're now saying 12 months. So I'm like, it's fine. I don't care. I understand cash flow. And then I have some like bottles of cash shares I got when I referred it when I bought mine. So, but I'm trying to sell it back to them, and then so that'll be right around Whiskey Live, and then kind of like, oh, we got money. Let's go. Let's buy something else. So we did the Copeland thing. Copeland's a little different. Like you do a cask, but then you get 6 bottles out of it, and if you want more, then they'll work it out with you, and which actually is perfect for me because I like supporting people that are doing cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have all 4 of the Copelands because that was the one where they did 25-3. That was like their big release when I was going over. So I ordered it and I had it. What did I do? I'm trying to remember now. I had it shipped to James Fox, and so I was trying that at the Celtic Fest in December, and as I was trying it, he brought out 25-4. The new pot still, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!" It's like I only have room for so many bottles, and now
I didn't buy the 25-4.
So I picked up a bottle of that, but that was the problem. I kept accumulating. I had to say no to bottles, because I only had I still had 2.
They were all pin up, and then they're all kind of stuck. So I gotta.
Yeah.
I actually I'm looking at what I still have there. So it's like what gets back to them, because one was a Celtic whiskey auction that I've had before. That's the Method and Madness Acacia French Oak combination.
Mm-hmm.
I even forget what else was in that one, but we're hoping that one's kind of Richard in your state where UPS has said we will send it back to James Fox, but Customs is still waiting to release it back to them. And then I have the order for Whiskey Exchange that has their act together that I had to delay for a couple of days, and they got lost in South Carolina because of a ice storm. And that has a Power single cask from Whiskey Exchange, the Boan edition that only is at there, and a Method and Madness Oats and Malt.
What was the second one?
There's a Boan. I forget what
it was. It was one of the vintage mash bills that they did from the Whiskey Exchange. I have a couple. If it doesn't arrive, I have a couple of bottles, so I can send you some of that.
No, that one I don't remember that one because I got the Powers. I saw it go on sale, so I jumped on it and maneuvered around to have it shipped to.
It was number 5 Whiskey Exchange 2021 single cask Oloroso.
Yeah.
So the same as Polaris 4.1.
I've got 2
and yes,
more
I have a spreadsheet of these
that were through Friends of Irish Whiskey, but it was a Brulalic or
that's a Blaylock. Friends of Irish Whiskey is a Blaylock.
Yeah, there you go.
Go drink it. Go pour it right now, Richard.
No, that's the one that got returned to Ireland along with the PB single. I've got both of those bottles, and they, like I said, they got held up from October 12th till the end of the year. They sent them back there, and then, all right, at least they're going back. I can figure it out. And then
they lost it.
I was happy to see there's a couple of Blaylock bottles on Irish whiskey auctions this year, but there's multiple bids against them, so I was happy to see that. I'm like,
I wasn't bidding. It wasn't me bidding versus
It's not me either, but there's like 3 or 4 people bidding against each bottle. I'm like, that's good. I'm happy to see that.
We should probably get like
people here.
Do the text thing going so you don't bid against yourselves.
We do that.
Yeah. I think I ordered my first whiskey in months this past week, and I don't even remember what I ordered. What was the one that just came out?
You'll have to give us a hint here.
Wow, you guys were in on it too. It was the oats thing, the popcorn one.
It wasn't a whiskey. You didn't order a whiskey. You ordered a potchin.
It's a potchin.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. But no, it was the first thing I've ordered shipping.
Okay. Yeah, my father, when I spoke to him, said, "You've had nothing arrive that's alcohol in the last week or two. Are you okay?"
Liam is worried about you.
Well, I'm having stuff sent there for the tour. So
I brought 20 bottles back.
Green spot of beers
December,
to take on the tour for the people. But yeah,
20 bottles.
It's only been a month. My dry January tends to consist of trying to not buy a lot of whiskey.
Yeah.
I was
good this year with that.
And I bought stuff, but
so you had the Cullowen shipped directly to you. I'm sending it to James Fox.
Yeah, see, I decided to have it shipped, and I'm seeing this will be the first thing I'm doing. So.
Are you talking about the Cullowen
totes amaze balls?
Oh, okay.
It's part of they're reviving Pachin now. They haven't said exactly what they're doing, which is a small festival they do at Bar 1661. Sounds like they're going on the road and they're going to do it at like 3 or 4 different locations. But so now the next thing in my planning is where are they going to be when? Will it happen to be while I'm there?
But my shipping appeared to be $24 or €24 for the 2 bottles. Why would you have that sent to James Fox's versus direct from Cullowen?
I never checked it.
You should. They have the cheapest shipping. It's DHL. Yeah. It's coming from England effectively because it's the north of Ireland, and it's very quick and very cheap.
Well, maybe if there's any more there, I'll go buy it right now.
Yeah. No, that's gone. That was gone before it went on general.
That's good if it was. I forgot it was like I'm checking in advance going, I thought the general sale was the advance sale.
No, the advance sale the advance sale sold out because I got the last. I cleaned it out.
Well, I was going to say, since there's a limited number of people here, if anybody is interested in trying a little bit of that Jameson that's been aged in PX, I'd be happy to send samples. All you got to do is send me a PM. You pay shipping. I'm good with it.
What about your other thing, your May log? How much of that do you have left?
I did a couple different things. Like I said, when it came in, I took 5 bottles and I set them aside. They're gone.
Yeah.
I put 15 bottles back in the cask. At 3 months, I pulled, I think 5 bottles. Those are all gone. And then at 6 months, I emptied it because I thought it was going south. But what I did was I did 5 bottles of a blend that it's got all 3 pullings that I've got of it. And I've got 1 bottle of that, 1.5 bottles of the blended going. And I got to tell you that, to me, the first pulling after 3 months was outstanding. It is very good. And I don't have any of that left.
I like it because, Hank, you're of course your own Frankenstein scientist with your
absolutely
stuff. So no, Richard, though, like it's I like the style though because it's like, well, all we get is Jameson products here, so I have to get creative. So I'm gonna take the 1 bottle I can get and I'm gonna finish it and things and do things to it to make my own whiskey. I love it.
Hank,
yes,
which is part
you're
of the fun.
Since you're the one that's showing interest, I have these samples. It's the original. It's only half full, and then I have the first and second pull.
All right.
if you're
So
interested.
I'll connect with you on WhatsApp, and I'll send you some Boylock. I
Okay.
don't know if I have my cask any left of my cask, but if I do, it's a mash bill that's like 56% oats.
If not, you can send them some of my cask if you've any of that left.
I got to check and see if I have any of that left too. But
Like I said,
Richard,
I
I'll
don't.
follow up. I would love to.
Like I said, I'm not. If you want to send me some samples, I'd love to. But like I said, if you would like to try this, I'd more than happy to just send it out for shipping.
No, one of mine is a single malt from Blaylock that is in a port cask that's 2.7 years. That's just in a kind of unlabeled bottle that I picked up last time I was in Donegal.
Well,
The
I seen
unlabeled bottles are the funnest ones to get from
Yes.
Blaylock.
the mail on. I just happened to see an ad. In fact, I think Robert with IWA came out and was announcing it and everything. So I went onto their website and looked, and it's like, hey, you can buy a cask full of whiskey, and I'm all in. So I placed the order, and then Steven, he contacted me. He goes, you're in the U.S. I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, I can't send a full cask. He said, the idea is you take the cask to like an event, and you guys drink it out of the cask, but I get my cask back. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So
I think that's the fun we all have to figure out, because some places will say, we'll bottle it for you, we keep the cask. Waylock, you get to keep the cask. But we've got to figure out how to get the bottles from Ireland to the US.
Well, that's what Stephen came out and he says, I'll sell you the cask on its own. I'll bottle the whiskey. And I said, well, if you're going to bottle the whiskey, will you put my name on it? So it's the Old Man's Irish Pub.
Yep.
And he bottled it up. And like I said, I left 5 bottles in Ireland, a couple of them for auction or for charity. I did 3 to.
I remember those, yep.
I did 2 or 3 to, Barry and Anthony, and them. I left bottles over there. And then they sent the rest here. And then, like I said, I've been kind of playing with it. But, yeah, it's all done now. But a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Now I've got a cask down there that I'm just afraid that's going to empty, and I'm not going to have anything to keep it wet.
Well, I know Pillahora, who do an apple brandy, they had done a Curragh seaweed cask, so they did the apple brandy and that. And they also now have a Boylock cask, which I really want to get when they do a peated apple brandy. That would be very interesting.
Really?
So things that can be done.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at for my barrel, as soon as the Jameson's pulled out of it and it's done, I don't know if anybody's familiar with a Rhine wine. I'm not seeing anybody shaking their head.
A Rhine wine, like as in a German ice wine, or just from
I
the
have no clue. I do not drink wine, but my mom, as I was growing up, she'd buy these big gallon jugs of Rhine wine. I don't even remember.
Is that related to Riv Salts that we've had some whiskey finished? Is that a Rhine wine? Rivesaltes. Bohan did something in Riv Salts and
yeah, that was the New Hampshire.
as well.
They did a New Hampshire liquor store exclusive.
So is that a Rhine wine?
I just opened that bottle last week. It was a 16-year-old.
Is it Rhine?
No, it's a Brisevalt's wine finish.
I just didn't know if that was like a similar family.
But Rhine is the river, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know my wines. I couldn't tell.
I don't either.
My wine knowledge is limited to.
I know Buckfast. That's a wine, a tonic wine brewed by the monks.
I would get a little sip when my mom would have this as I was growing up, and I remember it wasn't really overly sweet, but it was sweet, and I enjoyed it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to see if I can't get a couple gallons of that to put back in my barrel, just to keep it
makes
wet.
Sense.
And then I'll pull out another whiskey.
And it will likely be similar to the Mikkel Puccin one, because it sounds like that's the type of wine it is.
Yeah, and I love playing with barrels.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not going to reach out yet. I'm curious what's happening with Powers Court.
Yeah.
And the cast there. It's just gonna. I'm assuming everything's going to be fine.
What it looks like after I looked at it is They bought everything except the Cooley stock, and they're still
Right.
Yeah.
trying to sell that separate because that's like
Right.
bigger price tag.
Yep.
So they're
That's
still
what I
they're
read
gonna
as well.
distill. They're
Yeah.
gonna continue to distill, and they're gonna use whatever stock they've produced there, including your IWSA Cask #1.
Yeah, they've actually released some new products lately because I was picking something up a week ago, and one of the things I noticed on the shelf was three new Fort Collins. They were like 5-year single malts with various wine cask finishes.
Wow,
So I was
nice.
surprised. I was like, oh, that's interesting that they, because you have the regular single malt that's just bourbon
Any
cask.
rumors
Got
on
the
what's
power
happening with the
sport one there.
Waterford stock?
No. I've seen plenty of it. It's funny, I was in Chicago. I went to Binny's a couple
Oh
weeks
yeah,
ago, and they had a lot of the Waterford stuff on sale, but it was
yeah.
still like it was like 75, $80. I'm like, that's not
What
really on sale.
That's
Yeah, I
not
was
bad.
I was disappointed. So
Did
I
I?
ended up did I went to Binny's and didn't the only thing I left with was the new Acre Stone.
I mean,
Wow.
at $75, $80, I would buy the Heritage mash bills and the peated stuff, but I wouldn't buy anything else.
But what's weird is when I was there, when I went to that wedding at Notre Dame,
Hmm.
I got Luna, which is my favorite Waterford, for $42. I bought 3 bottles
Wow.
of that. I got Gaia, one of the Gaia releases, or I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, and Kian's
No, it's
looking at me
Gaia.
like, okay, for 26.
Wow. Yeah, I was
That's good.
disappointed in the store I was in. Well, I went online too and I looked and there was
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
nothing that was jumping out at me
Oh,
online.
you
But
can't
then I
go
went to
online because the pricing online didn't show that at all.
no,
It
right. So
was,
then you have to go to the stores. So I
yeah,
went to the Evergreen store
okay,
and it was disorganized. Like they had the Irish whiskey section and I was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm good. And as I was walking out, I was walking through the rye aisle and randomly on the bottom shelf of the rye aisle was a bunch of all the Dingle Celtic Wheel, and then a bunch of Teeling limited editions. They were
okay,
all. I'm like, why are you hiding these in the rye
right.
aisle? No
Were
one's.
they in rye casks?
No, these are
So
only
this,
the
yeah.
one of them is, but I don't know if they had that one. But it was just kind of the store was a little disorganized. So
So this is Connie as the enabler. We went there and I bought like 1 bottle of each, and then we stopped at Fado. We were downtown on Grand Street. We stopped at Fado. We had a drink there, and Connie's like, "Those prices were amazing. We can buy another suitcase."
you know what though? It's better to have that than to have the opposite, right? Where it's like you have enough
Absolutely.
whiskey.
No,
Well, my weight
the
coming back is like I need bird's eye potato waffles. I need Irish scones. It's like it's no
yeah.
longer whiskey. It's other things that I
Right.
can bring back from Ireland.
Well,
I
I think
just
I might have pushed my luck with the last trip. I don't know if I even want to tempt fate and do the same thing on
yeah.
my next one with this empty
Yeah, that's why
suitcases.
I'm glad it looks like this thing is going to get here tomorrow, and then I'll be able to play stuff down. But what I've trained her is like, Connie, just don't say it when the sales rep's around. Like, you should buy this because it's some expensive thing that I like don't care because she likes what the bottle looks like. That was her thing before, but
Yeah, well, let me know what when you think you might know what when you're going to be in Kilkenny
yeah,
because
I'm
I
waiting to
can.
hear on like if there's anyone doing the Lambe thing because the people that were doing it aren't anymore, and then there's anher
Oh,
one,
they're not.
Oh, that's for
yeah,
your
and it's kind of
puffins.
limited. So I think I have my course somewhat figured out, but
Yeah, the Lambay trip was something I looked into doing for the group when we did the
yeah,
Dublin trip.
yeah, but you don't have walkers.
Well, the issue was at the time the group was like 14 or 15 people and the boat would only take 12
Yeah,
and it was pretty pricey too. So I was just like, yeah, it's not going to work out.
yeah,
But it sounded like a good take anyway to go over
yeah.
there.
I'm trying to see if I can get on it. I may be too early to. I gotta wait and see, but I have 3 or 4 other places to go. We're gonna go out to Skellig, and we'll go down to Waterford. I mean,
The,
what
the irony
Wexford?
is you're either at like the extreme East Coast, Dublin, Waterford, Or you're
Yeah.
the southwest of Ireland.
Yeah, but
If you
that's
can't
what we
see
do
Dublin, go
anyway.
to Skelligs.
Yeah.
Because like I
Hey,
tell Connie, I said to Connie, I'm like, we got to do the South this time, and she's like, well, are we going to go see James, and are we going to go see the twins? And then
yeah,
it's
because
like, okay, well,
you haven't been to Kerry in the ring in that area for a while, have you?
2 years ago,
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
been to Limerick in a while, so I want to go to Limerick because I'm
Seriously,
going
though,
to
there's
try
no
and hang
reason
out
not to
with the guy
Limerick.
with Nick from Tom and Gate a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I haven't been to Mickle because it's like for Mickle I got to do 2 nights because if I go there, it's like I just got to make sure the car is parked. Just from the experience when I bought the Cask.
Well, you don't even need a
Michael
car.
is
Just
good.
if you're
We'll be
staying in
there.
Galway, just take an Uber over
Well, right, that's
or walk.
exactly
If
it.
you're going in the time of year, the weather's nice.
Okay.
You could even walk.
There's
Yeah,
also a bus, but yeah, I'm walking to Mickle this time. The others can take a bus, but yeah, we're going there from Galway.
yeah.
I
Like,
Well,
would not go.
if you're down in that area, the one I would recommend, and the guys are really good guys, is Port McGee
yeah. Well, that's because that's where I would go to the.
to go to the
That's
island,
yeah,
Valencia.
I think so. So
Yeah, so they just expanded their whatever operation, whatever you want to call it, their visitor area.
yeah,
Um, but because they built these like igloo looking
okay,
things, it's kind of hard to explain. Um, but one of the things you do when you go there is you get in a boat, like a rowboat.
yeah.
It's
I
not
love
a rope,
rowing.
but and then like it's audio vid, like it's kind of like the Sphere in Vegas.
Okay.
So it's all 3D
Oh,
around you.
very cool.
It's like you're on the water
Yeah,
and you're rowing, and like it's a really cool. So they've got they're being innovative for the
yeah,
fact that they don't have a distillery.
yeah. That'll be good.
So and they're just really good guys. And like
Yeah.
if you've ever been to Port McGee, it's like you blink and you're out. It's like
Well, right. I think we drove through it and we didn't know because and then we
yeah,
went
it's
up
like
and we
it's
found
on the
Skellig.
end. It's like 30 inhabitants. They've got
Yeah,
like 2 restaurants. It's a cool place though.
yeah, yeah. So I got to do taxes next week and then I got to work a little bit more on our trip. But
Well, I tell you what, uh, I went over on Whiskey Bus 3, and the most enthusiastic, I was very impressed with Nick Ryan. I
yeah,
mean, that guy
Yeah,
is
he's a good guy.
he is wonderful. And I tell you what, I've not had a thumb and gate I did not love.
Yep.
I know are they distilling their own yet? I mean, I know they're distilling, but
No.
are they not distilling at all?
No.
Um,
Nope.
because they were starting, or they were building, but I didn't see any stills.
No, he's doing bonding. So I picked up one of their new slash old ones. So their first 2 releases back in the day were the Cognac and the Stout.
yeah,
I love the stout.
They just re-released the Cognac at a low. So the first 2 releases were both cask strength.
yeah,
They just re-released the Cognac as I want to say 46%.
yeah.
I picked it up at Celtic. Celtic had it.
Are they not? Are they still working to distilling?
I think it's potentially in his long range plan, but it's stalled.
I assume it's the
Oh,
amount of money that is required to
Yeah.
distill versus you can bottle and bond for far less.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of people that are distilling now that need to find outlets for their stuff.
Right.
And if they can find them that people that they trust.
Yeah. See, when we were there, he was talking about they were working on getting their stills up and going and all that, or getting stills and going. And but man,
I think it's timing. It's timing with the economy and everything that hit isn't the best time to try to raise capital when you've got other distilleries closing.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense. But man,
that
what
applies
an
to every
inspiration.
industry.
Yep.
Like we saw a
Yep.
ton of craft breweries open in Northern California. Some closed, and it was just too many. So depends what you want to invest
I
in.
think they might have found a buyer for Killarney too.
Oh, good.
It hasn't officially
Yep.
released yet, but it seems like they may have found someone.
Oh, good.
Because that facility is phenomenal. Somebody's going to get that for a steal.
Yeah.
But that's what happened when Waterford bought the Guinness brewery in Waterford for a very cheap amount of money, and then that didn't work out for them.
Well, yeah, they get the worst timing ever award for
Mhm.
for releasing their whiskeys during the week
Yeah,
of COVID.
we were too advanced for what we needed to do. Their stuff's great. I love it. I love the idea, but yes, the timing was not good.
So
I think their ideas can
somebody's gonna
hit.
have those casks and release like a 10-year Waterford one of these days, like two stacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody like, or Dahi, maybe. I don't know if he got
Yeah.
any.
I think they were just too narrow on their plan there.
Oh, they weren't too narrow. They were too
No, they were
broad.
up. They were
They're
too.
opposite.
Yeah, they should
They're,
have been more narrow.
they didn't have anything that was Waterford. Everything was Waterford.
It should have been a core offering first, and then now
Yes.
we're going to do the single farm versions, and you can compare them to what our core release is.
There
Yes.
you go.
Do them all at the same time, but just have this is Waterford, these are the single farm versions, so you can compare them. And then everyone will be like, I'm going to buy those. I wish to try them.
Right.
Yep.
Say hello
Yeah,
to
I'll
Connie.
talk. Great
Yep,
seeing
will do.
everybody. Till next time.
Talk to you
All
again.
right.
Bye.
Thank you.